Well, good afternoon and welcome to Live Impact News right here on 13 News Now Plus. How about a double dose of our theme song to start out this Wednesday edition of our 2-hour live stream? 1:01 p.m. exactly, and it is February 18th, 2026. Again, right in the crux of our week. It is a Wednesday. It is in the 60s outside, but the forecast is something that we'll have to get to a little bit later because we begin this stream with breaking news out of Portsmouth. Now, what we know so far here in the studio is that a suspect is barricaded in Portsmouth after firing at federal and state officers, according to police. Our very own Madison Schlegel is on the scene right now as we speak to hopefully provide more information, more details. Madison, what are you seeing out there?
Hey Connor, yeah, we are down here in Portsmouth, and right behind us you can see the Harbor Vista apartments. I'm going to get out of the way so Michael can just give you a look. But this is the apartment building where agents say that a man is currently barricaded right now. Again, we were told that DHS, Department of Homeland Security, came here to serve a warrant today, and those agents were met with gunfire. Now, the chief of police in Portsmouth here, Chief Jenkins, tells us that crews were on scene within a minute once they got those reports, and ever since then they have been evacuating this building and have told residents to stay out of the area. Now, because of this, you can see over here at the building that Michael's pointing towards, there's a Virginia State Police truck. There's multiple Virginia State Police truck. We've got a couple active police cars with active lights. But in this area, we've also seen more than a half a dozen agents gathering in tactical gear, coming in and out of this building. But I want to show you where command center is right now for this investigation. If you look right over here, you can see we've got the mobile command, and we've got a slew of different officers that are here meeting. This is also where we did a little press conference with Chief Jenkins earlier. What he told us right now is that he doesn't believe that right now this was an immigration warrant that they were sending. There were some mumblings. There were also some rumors that there was a possible bomb threat as well. He wanted to say that right now there are units on scene in case of that, but he said that he doesn't believe right now that there is a bomb on site. But they have told people in the area to evacuate, and we've spoke to a couple of people who live inside of this building and told us about those moments in which they kind of realized that something was going down. They got a text message saying for the people inside to stay barricaded inside their apartments, and if they are in there, to stay low, to not make much noise and be quiet. We spoke to one woman who says that her mother is still inside of the building because she's in need of medical care and she's difficult to transport. She's in there right now with a caretaker, but it's people like that these crews are working now to really get out of this building. So we're here while they're doing that. And again, it's been a busy scene here. All the roads around Portsmouth right now are closed. We're currently on Court Street. Columbia is also closed. But all city municipalities right now are going to be closed as well. The chief tells us that City Hall is going to be closed, and all of those other direct artery buildings right here in the city right now are being vacated as well. So right now the situation is really fluid. We are just waiting for updates from police about what else is going on, but it is active. Again, we have people who live inside of the building who are standing here watching this with us. That's how we've been able to speak to a couple of them. We also spoke with one resident who lives on the 4th floor of this building and says that it was that floor of the building that this warrant was served on. He was able to pull up his phone and show us some security camera footage from the floor, from the apartment security camera roll, and we were able to see those agents approach the door, and we saw agents coming in and out as they're investigating. But again, as I've mentioned, this is a very fluid situation, a lot happening here on scene, but we're trying to bring you the latest updates as we get them.
Yeah, and you did a great job, Madison. A lot of information there. I apologize. Can I keep you and ask a question or two here if you have time? Okay, now I apologize.
Yeah, of course, Connor, we're on your time.
Okay, fantastic. I apologize if you stated this already. I know you said that City Hall, municipal buildings are closed. Have they also been evacuated? No one's going in. Is everyone out of those buildings as well?
Yeah, so they are evacuating those buildings that are here in the area. So we've seen some government workers as well who have been out here kind of walking through, who are not in those buildings right now. But again, they're telling everybody to kind of stay out of this area and to avoid this area. So if you know that you have any errands that you need to be running down here in downtown Portsmouth, stay away from this area for at least a moment. There were a couple intersections over on the other side of the building. We've since moved where we've got a better accessibility, but we're told that, again, he's up in the upper level of this apartment building, that 4th floor, that top floor right now. And he is in this building that is faced east. We were told by police that he is in this area of the building right behind us that's facing the east direction. So that's what we know about the location of where this gunman barricaded is right now. And again, they've told the municipalities, they've told people who work in the government buildings also to evacuate at this time.
And so if you have the evacuation of that apartment building, you have the evacuation of government buildings in that area. I know you've been on scene for a little bit. It looks relatively calm behind you now. Was there a period of chaos where there were just a lot of people out in the street? I mean, was there any amount of, sort of crowds that were trying to find their way out of the area?
Yeah, so we've actually been far enough removed from the beginning of the building that we didn't see that kind of exodus of the building happen, but we are seeing pockets of people who are hanging out. I'll take you this way. Like we can see there, we've got pockets of people hanging out over here who are from the building. We've got some people that are over here hanging out from the building. So again, there's little spurts of people. We're not seeing that mass moving, but they told us that they're staying nearby to maybe watch those conditions as they change so that they can get back into their home. We've seen some people who said that they've still got animals inside and are waiting to hear more. So that's kind of the gist of what we've been seeing so far.
A very unique situation, and I'm glad we were able to see that. Definitely a lot of people standing around, ostensibly waiting for answers and waiting to get back into their homes or even their workplaces. Okay, any other updates that we need from you here? I know you mentioned that law enforcement said that this is not immigration enforcement. Did I hear that early on in your report?
Yeah, that was one thing that the chief did mention. There were askings, obviously, given the recent current events that have happened across our country. There was curiosity considering that DHS was here serving a warrant. What were the confinements of that warrant? What was inside of that warrant? We are told that it was not immigration related. And right now there's been no other information other than that was shared with us in a press conference with the chief earlier this morning.
Okay, it's certainly a unique place for something like this to happen with all of those municipal buildings in that area in downtown Portsmouth. But thanks so much, Madison. We appreciate you taking a little extra time with us, and we'll see you at 4 o'clock on 13 News Now.
Thanks.
All right, so that's Madison Schlegel on scene in Portsmouth. Obviously a chaotic situation, a situation that does for the time being appear to be under some control, but one that happened right in the area of Portsmouth where there's all those government buildings in addition to that residential area. And you saw people standing all around in parking lots and over on the sidewalk, on the curb, as they wait to figure out what to do now that they have been evacuated from their homes and their workplaces right in the middle of a Wednesday afternoon. So great work there from Madison, keeping us updated on everything going on and more to come. 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, all on 13 News Now. I'm sure she'll have more updates for us as we move into the future. Now, back here in the Live Impact News studio, I'm going to direct this to the People's producer, Nia Campbell, who is here as well. Now, Nia, do we want to take a quick break or should we go straight into this forecast? Okay, we're going to go straight to the forecast because we've got Hunter Forst here. He's been very patient with us so far today. We had that breaking news right off the top, and it's always a welcome sight to have Hunter Forst here in the studio. But when it is mid-60s to high 60s, it is even more exciting to dig into that forecast. Look at the moves.
You got to dance.
Look at the moves.
I mean, it just puts you in a good mood.
It does. Again, I know I mention this far too often on Live Impact, but the post-lunch walk really slapped today. It had a little extra oomph to it.
I'm excited to get outside in about 5-7 minutes.
Okay, let's use those 57 minutes to talk about this forecast. What do you got for me? I know today is warm. What else are we looking at?
Cloudy.
Yep.
Breezy, but warm.
Okay.
Right now we are in the upper 60s. We are pushing 70 in Elizabeth City right now. 69 degrees. It's 68 in Norfolk, 68 in Virginia Beach. 64 in Hampton and Newport News. It's 68 in Suffolk, 67 in Chesapeake. We are much warmer than this time yesterday by about 13 to even 23 degrees warmer in Elizabeth City compared to about 24 hours ago. So it is feeling pretty good out there today. Even though it's cloudy, I would rather it be cloudy and warm than sunny and cold.
I'll take that, especially right now after such a prolonged period of such cold temperatures. Yeah. I turned the the thermostat down in my house this morning for the first time in a while. Actually reset that temperature to a lower degree, probably for the first time in 2026. Now, all right, we've got quite a bit of, wind action going here? What do you got?
Yeah, nice high pressure system off to our east. We have a southwest wind, so that southwest wind helping to bring in some warmer air. And it's just cloudy pretty much across all of Virginia and into North Carolina. Up into the northeast, they're seeing some rain and wintry weather, but here just cloudy. But we will see those rain chances increasing heading into late tonight and tomorrow. Again, today we're in the mid to upper 60s, right around 70 degrees, staying pretty cloudy. But for your evening commute, 5:30, it's comfortable. If maybe you can finally go out and play some pickleball, tennis, run outside. I mean, it's going to be a great evening for it.
Well, you got to tell us. What's your plan? Is it pickleball, tennis, or a run outside for you? You cannot be requesting our wonderful viewers to go do these outdoor activities if you're not going to engage yourself.
I'm going to walk from my car to the gym, though.
That's how you
that
take
counts.
advantage. How far is the gym from your house? Can you walk all the way to the gym from the house?
I could.
All right. Sounds like that is what you're going to do. Please report back tomorrow with how that walk goes all the way from your house to the gym. Now, what else do we have? Before I let you, take this forecast where you want to take it, are we doing just noticeably better with the drought situation now?
It's definitely the rain that we just got the other day certainly helps, and it's going to continue to improve as we head into the next couple of days because our rain chances do increase. So chipping away at it slowly but surely.
Okay, good. No major concerns on that front after this wet spell. Okay, what else you got?
But by tonight, 10, 11 o'clock, we will see some light showers. It's going to be a warm start to a Thursday morning, but some scattered showers on the way, especially south side north. But temperatures actually drop heading into the afternoon tomorrow, so we'll be in the mid to upper 50s in a few spots, maybe even warmer in eastern North Carolina, depending on where this front sets up. So then by Thursday evening, we are cloudy, a few isolated showers, upper 40s to low 50s. And then it is going to be a very warm start to Friday morning. I mean, it's already 60 at 7:30. That's like summer vibes right there.
7:30 a.m., 60 degrees.
Yeah.
Does it go down from there, or do we?
It does not.
No. Okay.
It actually goes up.
This is
But
great.
we could see a few showers
Okay.
by the afternoons. And we'll be in the upper 60s to low 70s in a few spots. A few isolated showers Friday afternoon, but not going to be raining all day. But the rain chances do stick around heading into this upcoming weekend, especially for Sunday. And then by next week, the rain chances do start to come down. But again, for today, mid to upper 60s to right around 70. Good amount of sunshine. 57 in Cape Charles. 65 in Williamsburg. 67 in Hampton. Low 70s in Gatesville and Hertford. 68 in Kill Devil Hills. 66 in Manio. And a few showers tonight, but it will be mild. We'll be in the mid to low 40s. Won't really need your heat. 55 in Suffolk, 49 in Norfolk, 51 in Virginia Beach, 43 in Cape Charles, 50 in Poquoson, 49 in Gloucester, 55 in Hertford tonight, 49 in Kill Devil Hills, 49 in Manio. And then another look at tomorrow. Womp.
A little bit of rain, but
a little bit of a womp.
This is not womp worthy, I don't think.
You don't?
What do you think? You threw the womp out there. It was well curated, but I don't know if this day deserves a womp. We got 50-degree weather here.
Only in the morning, and then it's going to rain, and then
Only in the
temperatures
morning.
drop into the It's going to be like a cool, rainy day.
Cool rainy day, but then you said what? Friday morning it rebounds, and we're back.
It does rebound, yes.
Okay, this is great. This is all very good news. The drought is being tended to. Our proclivities for warmth are being tended to.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the 7-day, though, does show a noticeable drop-off come early next week.
I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
Low 40s. Now that's a womp.
That's a womp. Go ahead and do it.
Womp.
Oh, yeah.
And a tomato.
Oh, is that a new thing?
Like you're throwing tomatoes.
Okay.
Tomato.
Thumbs up if we're okay with the throwing tomatoes move as one of our... Okay, good. Throwing tomatoes are in. That is a new theme here officially on the Live Impact Forecast.
Love.
So we're throwing tomatoes at Monday and Tuesday. The rest of the days are clear of pre-made ketchup.
Correct.
Okay.
Even though there is some rain.
There's a little bit of rain, but like you said, that's okay.
That's all right.
It's
We
warm
need it.
rain. And I didn't hear, is it going to be noticeably windy late week into the weekend?
Shouldn't be too bad.
Shouldn't be too bad. Okay, this is great. You've got a gym to walk to, so we got to get you out of here. I know your shift is just about over. Is there anything else pressing that we need to know before we let you go?
Just enjoy the warmth. Have a fantastic day, and
How about that? A
Get outs-
sublime message from
get
Hunter
outside
Force.
and just soak it up.
Okay.
And be like a plant.
Enjoy your
Do some
walk.
photosynthesis.
Get some photosynthesizing going, even though it is a bit cloudy. I guess
Right.
you can still, the vitamins still make their way through the clouds.
They can't. Yeah.
Okay.
So
All right. A wonderful forecast from Hunter Force.
Thank you, everybody.
He is headed out of here. Great work today. We appreciate you, Hunter. No tomatoes thrown at Hunter. He is clear of shameful fruits. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to toss it to a break, and then we've got a live event that just wrapped, a live event that's about to get started. We have a lot to get to here on Live Impact News. For the time being, a quick commercial, and when we come back, we'll dive into all the headlines for the day after this. All right, welcome back to Live Impact News. Now, we are going to stick with our live events while we can, and there's only one that is currently in play, one that's currently happening, and that's the Colin Gray trial. Now, if you've been with us for this entire week, then you already have this foundation here. I want to throw it out one more time in a very abbreviated manner. A mass shooting at a Georgia high school in 2024 took the lives of 4 people, 2 students, 2 teachers. It injured a number of others. Now, that mass shooting was allegedly carried out by Colt Gray, a student at that school. This trial is Colin Gray, the father of Colt Gray. He's on trial for nearly 30 charges, including 2 counts of second-degree murder and 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter for any role that he may have played in this shooting allegedly happening at the hands of his son, Colt Gray. So that is the trial that is happening right now in Georgia. Let's go live into the courtroom.
May have been 1:30, I'm sorry, 1:39.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's see.
And Judge, again, those photos orient with the witness and the jury as to where we're looking in the classroom. One photo shows evidence markers that the other does not show. One shows closer up the evidence in the classroom better than the other one. I think it's important to be able to show, this is a complex crime scene, and these classes are specifically from Miss Ryan's room. I think it's important to be able to orient the jury and show the totality of the crime scene.
And Judge, yes, we think that one certainly is enough to orient. One's just a little bit farther away. It's the only difference. You can see pretty much in the far away everything that you need to show.
I'll come back to those two.
Okay. The next were 51, 54, and 57. We might have. You've got these two, but then you've got this one. I don't know if that's.
I think we may have thrown 58 in there too. It may show similar things.
Let's see. So 54 and 51 together, and then 57 and 58 together. Okay. So this is 51, 11, 51, and 54. And then I'll go ahead and hand you 57 and 58. So the first one, Judge, actually does show two similar but completely different whiteboards. So we would argue that shows different bullet defects from Miss Ryan's classroom on two different whiteboards.
So Mr. Berry, my understanding is these are two different whiteboards, not the same whiteboard.
And you can tell that one of them has writing on it that the other does not have.
Does your objection remain, or with her adding that?
If the one whiteboard is different, if they're two different classrooms or two different whiteboards, I don't have an objection.
My understanding is two different whiteboards.
Yes, sir.
All right, so
If they are, then I would draw that.
all right, thank you.
The next two, Judge, show bullet defects outside of a bathroom. They are similar pictures. One is closer than the other. The one that's further zoomed out shows the bullet defects in their totality. As we get closer, we want to be able to show the jury the kind of damage that this weapon was doing as he was firing it. Those are defects that were caused around the time that he was firing at Mason. I think it's important to be able to show the jury what this specific firearm, these specific bullets was doing at that time. That's hard to tell in the zoomed out picture. When you provide the more zoomed in picture, you're able to see that more clearly. And again, the more zoomed out one provides orientation for the more zoomed in one as well.
You know, honestly, there's nothing that would prevent the state in 111 and 57, with more zoomed out, from publishing it, and then, as we do on a phone, zooming in and showing. It's the same effect as if they just did 58 separately.
And we have technical limitations that may prevent us from being able to do that versus just showing two exhibits that I would argue are not prejudicial in any way. They're just photos of the evidence.
All right. Come back to those. What else?
Next he has, okay, that was, I'm sorry, Judge, was that 57 and 58, correct? Okay, thank you. Next is 111.81 and 111.83.
that one, Judge. I think one is a close-up, but you can't really see it that well, so we'll withdraw our objection on that.
All right, thank you.
Next, we have, I believe it's 84 and 94.
Those are as to total value.
Right. Judge 111, 84 does show a defect. It is small, but again, it's orienting for the jury. It's above the poster board there. That's a hallway we have very few pictures of because I believe that's the only bullet defect on that wall. 11194. This is Miss Lancaster and Mr. Phoenix's classroom.
Okay, that trial ongoing in Georgia. We'll be covering that as long as that trial is going on. Experts anticipate it'll last maybe between 2 and 3 weeks. So we'll continue to cover that trial as it goes. For now, we've come out of that trial because we're going to go to the White House for this week's White House press briefing with Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. That just got started. Let's go live to the White House.
To the International Stabilization Force and local police to maintain security and peace for Gazans. Tomorrow afternoon, the president will travel to the great state of Georgia, where he will visit 2 local businesses and give a speech on his efforts to make life affordable for working people. On Friday, President Trump will host a working breakfast with governors in the East Room here at the White House. And on Saturday night, President Trump and the First Lady will host the annual Governor's Dinner. Next, I'd like to provide an update on the economy. We're seeing promising signs every day that 2026 is going to be a record successful year for the American people, just as President Trump promised them. The January jobs report shattered expectations, highlighting how the president's pro-growth economic agenda is fueling American prosperity. The economy added 172,000 new private sector jobs to kick off the year. That's more than 2.5 times economists' predictions. The labor force participation rate went up while the unemployment rate fell. The prime age labor force participation rate is now at its highest since 2001. Most importantly, 100% of all job creation under President Trump continues to be in the private sector. This is truly remarkable. That's 615,000 private sector jobs that have been added in President Trump's second term thus far. These are real working people. These are real American families who will be living out their American dream. Meanwhile, federal government employment has shrunk to its lowest level since 1966, saving taxpayers $29 billion annually. And all of the net job growth under President Trump has gone to native-born Americans, ending the disgraceful pattern under Joe Biden of job gains going to non-citizens and illegal aliens. Additionally, on inflation, the new CPI report is even more proof of the progress made by President Trump. Despite all of the doom casting from the so-called experts, the president has managed to utilize powerful tariffs to secure trillions of dollars in investments into our country and rebalance our trade deals while simultaneously cooling inflation. Year-over-year inflation fell to 2.4% in January, beating expectations again and marking the lowest level since May. Core inflation, the best measure of inflation, dropped to its lowest level in nearly 5 years. Meanwhile, real average hourly earnings for all private sector workers rose in the month of January, which means more money is going back directly into people's pockets. After only 1 year of President Trump back in office, real earnings for all private sector workers have outpaced inflation by nearly $1,400, earning back roughly half of the $2,900 they lost under Joe Biden when 40-year high inflation was stealing Americans' purchasing power. President Trump's policies are and will continue to allow Americans' incomes to go further for bills, retirement, and achieving the American dream. A key part of the American dream is buying a home. And that is finally becoming more affordable under this president. This past week, it was announced the annual mortgage cost for a new home has fallen by $4,000 so far under President Trump, after rising by roughly $15,000 under Joe Biden. As a result, mortgage affordability has reached a 4-year best following recent bold action by the president to make home ownership more attainable for American families, not large Wall Street corporate institutional investors. At the same time, national median rents have fallen to a 4-year low and have declined for 6 consecutive months. The annual rental cost for a new rental unit has fallen nearly $100 so far under President Trump, after rising more than $3,000 under Joe Biden. And many are crediting that to the president's deportation efforts to remove illegal aliens from our communities and therefore from housing that should be used for American citizens. At the grocery store, the price of eggs, dairy, cheese, fresh fruit, apples, oranges, potatoes, tomatoes, and butter have fallen since President Trump took office, and he is continuing to fight for even lower prices at the grocery store for the American consumer. At the gas pump, fuel prices are down by almost 10% over the past year. The average national price for a gallon of regular gas is now less than $3 and is approaching $2.70 in some states, and much lower than that in many states across the country as well. We've seen in several states gas is under $2 a gallon. And at the pharmacy, prescription drug prices are down over the past year, with even more price relief ahead for American patients, thanks to President Trump's most favored nation drug pricing deals and the great health care plan, which he is calling on Congress to pass as soon as possible. What President Trump wants Americans to understand is that this is only the start and the best is yet to come. The historic success that we have seen since he took office is just the beginning of enormous growth and opportunity that we are about to witness. And I know the president looks forward to hitting the road and being with the great people of Georgia tomorrow to talk about just this. So with that, today, I know there's a lot of news. I will open it up to take your questions, and we're going to start, as always, with our new media seat, the great Michael Graham from Inside Sources. Thank you for being here, Michael.
Thank you for having us, and thanks from our 200 newspaper partners around the country. So you mentioned gas. We didn't mention natural gas. And back where you live, your friends and family are paying among the highest prices for natural gas to heat their home and for electricity generation, the #1 source of power across New England. The cheap gas is in Pennsylvania. The 2 highest places to buy gas in the country, New York City and Boston. The problem is the blue states will not allow the gas to travel to produce electricity or to reach customers. When President Trump first came back in office, there was some talk, him and Governor Hochul in New York possibly reaching a deal. When will consumers in the Northeast feel relief from President Trump's energy policies, and what can he do about state objections to expansion of infrastructure? Then I have a quick follow-up.
Sure, absolutely. Well, the president has promised all Americans across the country, and in particular in the Northeast, where we do face much higher costs of electricity and of energy, unfortunately, because of the Democrat policies in the area. From the federal government's perspective, the president and the National Energy Dominance Council, Secretaries Wright and Burgum, are doing all we can when it comes to federal permitting. The drill baby drill agenda is obviously underway. The president has made a huge push for more fossil fuels in this country. You look at what he did last week with respect to coal. Coal truly keeps the lights on in this country. We learned that in the recent winter storms. However, there's only so much that can be done at the federal level. That's why the president has called on blue state governors to participate in this energy dominance agenda, including governors in New England and the Northeast, by contacting Governor Hochul directly to get this Constitution pipeline underway. This is not only going to bring down the cost of energy in the Northeast, it's also going to support job growth and energy affordability and more opportunity for workers in the Northeast. And I just have a quick statistic here on energy that I found fascinating, and it's obviously true because I'm saying it up here. Red states with Republican legislatures currently enjoy lower average retail electricity prices than blue states with Democrat legislatures. And that's exactly why the president is calling on all blue state governors across New England and the Northeast to get on board. Let's bring prices down for all Americans, whether they live in a red or a blue state.
So right down the street from your alma mater, San Antonio College, is talking about building an ICE facility that's causing a lot of political agita in New Hampshire, and for the Republican governor, Kelly Ayotte. Seems to be some miscommunications argued on both sides. even Republican supporters of Trump who live in the town say, we're not sure we want this. What's your message to the folks in New Hampshire about this proposed ICE facility?
The message is that illegal immigration, while the border is secure, is still a problem across our entire homeland. And the previous administration allowed nearly 20 million illegal aliens from countries all over the world into our country. And the President and Secretary Noem have done a phenomenal job at deporting. Nearly 3 million illegals have left the country either through deportation or self-deportation over the past year. But obviously, there are a lot more illegal alien criminals left in our homeland. That includes in New England. There are many within our communities in New Hampshire, in Maine, and definitely in Massachusetts and in the Boston suburbs that need to be arrested, detained, and deported back to their home countries. And so the President and Secretary Noem, and I know ICE, are engaged with local governors across the whole country, including in New Hampshire, to open more detention facilities. This is an unfortunate consequence of the previous administration's border invasion that the President has thankfully put a stop to, but of course we still need to grapple with the illegal alien criminals who are here, and that requires more detention space. Thank you, Michael. Garrett.
On Iran, I'm not asking you for like military secrets here, but can you
You
share?
know I would be so unwise.
Unless you want to give them. Can you share a little bit about the president's thinking on whether or not to strike Iran, who he's talking to, what information he's consuming, and why a strike might be necessary on a nuclear program he says was obliterated by the last U.S. strike?
Well, there's many reasons and arguments that one could make for a strike against Iran. The president had a very successful operation as commander-in-chief with Operation Midnight Hammer, as you know, as you just said, totally obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities. The president has always been very clear, though, with respect to Iran or any country around the world, diplomacy is always his first option, and Iran would be very wise to make a deal with President Trump and with this administration. He's talking to many people. Of course, his national security team, first and foremost, and you know who the members of that team are. And this is something, obviously, the president takes seriously. He's always thinking about what's in the best interest of the United States of America, of our military, of the American people. And that's how he makes decisions with respect to military action of any kind.
And on the flip side of that, he's got the State of the Union speech next week. If he is going to take military action, does the administration believe it's important to sort of convince the American people, sell the American people? Will we hear something about that in the State of the Union to make the case for why something like that might be necessary to risk American lives?
Look, again, I'm not going to engage in a hypothetical. Good try, Garrett, but you can't catch me there. I will say, with respect to the State of the Union, you'll be hearing more about what is to come from the president's speech very soon at the appropriate time. It is going to be a very good and powerful speech, so everyone should tune in. Ed.
Caroline, thank you. I got two questions for
Sure.
you. About Independence Hall in Philadelphia, the administration's decided to appeal a judge's ruling that in essence was trying to put the slavery displays back, arguing that the federal government believed it had the power to disassemble and disassemble historical truths when it has some domain over historical facts. The judge said it does not. The administration said that you were planning to put up updated interpretive materials and provide a fuller account of the history of slavery at Independence Hall. What more was the administration, or is the administration, planning to add?
I'm not familiar with this specific instance, Ed, to be honest with you, but I will check in with the appropriate people who are overseeing this, and we'll get you a more firm answer.
One other question. Then, yesterday, in his statement about Jesse Jackson, the president said, despite the fact that I'm falsely and consistently called a racist by the scoundrels and lunatics on the radical left, Democrats all, it was always my pleasure to help Jesse along the way. Where or when does the president believe he's been falsely called racist?
You're kidding, right? No. I will pull you plethora of examples. I'm going to get my team in that room to start going through the internet of radical Democrats throughout the years, Ed, who have accused this president falsely of being a racist. And I'm sure there's many people in this room and on network television across the country who have accused him of the same. In fact, I know that because I've seen it with my own eyes. And the president very much looks forward to having an event later this afternoon at 3 p.m. to celebrate Black History Month and to talk about how his policies are advancing opportunities opportunity and prosperity for all Americans through record tax cuts, through the Trump accounts that all Americans can access regardless of race. These are a great thing for the next generation of Americans. The president has also awarded hundreds of millions of dollars in additional funding to strengthen educational outcomes at historically black colleges and universities across the country. Again, the president is protecting the hard-earned benefits of the 2.4 million black veterans who honorably served in our nation's armed forces by reducing the backlog of veterans waiting for their VA benefits and for their home loans through the Department of Veterans Affairs. So there is a lot this president has done for all Americans regardless of race, and he has absolutely been falsely called and smeared as a racist, and I'm happy to provide you those receipts, and we gladly will right after this briefing. Jennifer, go ahead.
You mentioned the $5 billion in pledges for the Board of Peace. Will we be able to get a breakdown of which countries are providing each of those pledges?
Yes.
And which countries are providing troops?
Sure. We're happy to provide that breakdown, and I'm also happy to provide the list of countries that will be attending tomorrow. I know it's more than 20 countries. I know there's a lot of interest in that. I'll spare myself reading you the list of 20 countries from the podium, but we will provide it, and the president will be opening the meeting tomorrow with remarks, and will sort of formally be chairing the meeting at the beginning before he departs for Georgia tomorrow.
And then on the sewage spill, the sewage pipe that broke on the Potomac, can you give us an update on the federal government's response? And officials have told CBS that some of that aging infrastructure is a concern, that this particular pipe wasn't even of the most urgent concern. Do you know if the government is looking into which other pipes could be at risk of collapsing?
Well, the next step in this process is for any of the three local jurisdictions involved, whether that's the Commonwealth of Virginia, the state of Maryland and Governor Moore, or the District of Columbia, to step forward and to ask the federal government for help and to ask for the Stafford Act to be implemented here so that the federal government can go and take control of this local infrastructure that has been abandoned and neglected by Governor Moore in Maryland for far too long. In fact, it's no secret that Maryland's water and infrastructure have been in dire need of repair. Their infrastructure has received a nearly failing grade in the 2025 report card from the American Society of Civil Engineers. This is the same grade they've received 5 years earlier. There has been no improvement under the leadership of Governor Moore. He's clearly shown he's incapable of fixing this problem, which is why President Trump and the federal government are standing by to step in. And for all of the environmentalists in the room and across the District of Columbia, let's all hope and pray that this governor does the right thing and ask President Trump to get involved, because it will be an ecological and environmental disaster if the federal government does not step in to help. But of course, we need the state and local jurisdictions to make that formal request. That's part of the legal process to move forward. Peter.
So you said that any of the three Democrats just need to ask. A few minutes ago, Maryland's Governor Wes Moore asked. He said, if the president wants me to ask nicely, our response is this: please, Mr. President, do your job.
To which I say, I'll ask the president and we will provide you with the next steps. But in all seriousness, the federal government has been preparing plans. The White House has been in contact with FEMA, with the Army Corps of Engineers, with the Environmental Protection Agency. Again, we've been standing by. This is a problem we want to fix, not just for the federal government, but for everyone who lives in the District of Columbia, including all of you. So you're welcome.
To your point about that, there are a lot of events coming up for America 250. The president wants people from all over to come to the nation's capital. Is he worried that by the summer, the Potomac River will still smell like poop?
He is worried about that, which is why the federal government wants to fix it, and we hope that the local authorities will cooperate with us in doing so. Steve.
So what will the $5 billion be used for in Board of Peace, and will that be sort of a down payment for much more money?
You'll be hearing more about that tomorrow at the meeting. If you recall, at the first meeting when we were in Davos, Jared Kushner did provide a very detailed PowerPoint presentation for the vision of Gaza, the reconstruction and the humanitarian efforts, of course, providing local security on the ground. That will be part of the discussion tomorrow, is how can we maintain security? First, you must achieve security to get to prosperity, which is sort of the second part of this plan. So you'll be hearing more about that tomorrow, but I would just point out, $5 billion worth of investment. We're talking about reconstructing Gaza. I remember when those words came from the president's lips in the East Room many months ago, and all of you in the press were bewildered at how the president could have such an ambitious goal of rebuilding Gaza, which is obviously a place that has been just turmoiled by violence and chaos for many, many years. But we are well underway in doing that, and it's a historic accomplishment for this president.
Secondly, is the president seeing enough progress in the Iran talks to let negotiations go a little further? I mean, where do things stand after yesterday's talks?
I think you heard from the administration and the State Department yesterday that there was a little bit of progress made, but we're still very far apart on some issues. I believe the Iranians are expected to come back to us with some more detail in the next couple of weeks, and so the president will continue to watch how this plays out. Sure.
Follow up on that. Thank you, Caroline. On these Iran talks, I mean, how much time is the president willing to give it before he is seriously maybe considering military action? Is he willing to give it that full 2 weeks? And has he given the Iranian officials a deadline on when he wants to see a deal?
It's a fair question, Rachel, but I'm not going to set deadlines on behalf of the president of the United States from up.
And then just one more on the shutdown. We're now in this partial shutdown over DHS funding. Has the president personally spoken to the Democratic leaders in Congress? Can we expect to see them at the White House to try to make a deal on this?
Not to my knowledge, he hasn't had any direct conversation or correspondence with Democrat lawmakers recently. It doesn't mean he's not willing to. I'm just not aware of any conversations that have taken place. I do know the White House and the president's representatives have been in direct conversations with both Democrats and Republicans, but of course, Democrats are the reason that the Department of Homeland Security is currently shut down. They have chosen to act against the American people for political reasons, and now we have FEMA workers, the men and women of the United States Coast Guard, men and women of TSA who keep our airports moving, who will be working without paychecks for no good reason other than the Democrats wanting to pick a fight with Donald Trump. And the president thinks that is irresponsible and despicable. He wants the government to be open. We've been engaged in good faith negotiations with the Democrats. Last night they sent over a counter proposal that frankly was very unserious, and we hope they get serious very soon because Americans are going to be impacted by this. Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. President Trump has talked about a forthcoming executive order on voter ID. Is there more details you can provide about for that? And can you talk about any steps that you're taking to overcome court challenges that you've kind of faced in this area before on voting?
Well, as the president said in that Truth Social post, he's discussing and exploring legal options for a potential executive order with respect to voter ID, but this is something he's made very clear he wants Congress to get done. The Save America Act is a common sense piece of legislation that has now passed the House of Representatives to ensure that voter ID is a requirement in the United States of America. This is a common sense policy that nearly 90% of the country agrees with. You need an ID to go and purchase alcohol. You need an ID to go to the library and check out a book. And so the president thinks you should have an ID to vote in our nation's elections. And I know the vast majority of Americans agree with him on that. And he wants Congress to move quickly to get it done.
Sure. On Cuba, you know, it's increasingly being described as a humanitarian crisis. What is a successful outcome for the U.S. that the U.S. wants to see in Cuba? Is there anything less than regime change that would be considered success?
I think, as Secretary Rubio has articulated and the president himself, we obviously want to see flourishing and prosperous democracies all over the world, especially in our own hemisphere. I'm not dictating any actions the United States may take to get there, but of course that's in the United States' best interest to have Cuba be a truly free and prosperous democracy. Unfortunately, right now, that is not the case. They are a regime that is falling. Their country is collapsing, and that's why we believe it's in their best interest to make very dramatic changes very soon, and we'll see what they decide to do. Sure.
Thank you so much. Following up on Gaza, this $5 billion, who exactly would be in charge of managing this money? Would that be the president himself making the final decisions on how these funds are spent?
It will be the Board of Peace, which the president is, of course, the chairman of, but all of the member parties, I believe, will have votes on the funding. And then, of course, there is that technocratic layer underneath the official Board of Peace with the member countries that will be making decisions as well. So if you just go back and look at the first event that we had where we sort of unveiled the structure of the Board of Peace, that structure remains in place, and they'll be overseeing the funds that will be announced tomorrow for their reconstruction and humanitarian efforts. Sure.
Another question on that Board of Peace announcement. You mentioned there will be the announcement of who comprises that International Stability Force. How soon will that force be deployed? And have all of the regional partners, all of the regional countries signed off on the makeup of that force?
I don't have a timeline for you today, but again, I'm sure you'll hear more about this tomorrow. So you'll join us at the event. Deanna.
Thanks, Caroline. Two questions.
Sure.
First, the president has talked a lot about housing affordability, and several countries that are facing housing shortages, including Canada, for example, have imposed a ban on non-citizens, like foreigners, from buying their houses. Do you know if that's a strategy that the president would be willing to deploy?
Well, first of all, the president is obviously committed to deporting illegal aliens from our country and those who are not lawfully present in the United States, which he has done at a record pace, which has led to the falling of rents, as I pointed out in my opening remarks. Secondly, the president has recently announced that he is fighting for a ban on institutional investors and Wall Street billionaire corporations from buying up single-family homes that should be lived in his opinion, by American families. We know this is going to have a remarkable impact on the housing market and on prices and supply and demand for the American consumer and the American family. And then thirdly, the president is also expediting permitting as fast as we possibly can to build more homes, to increase supply, to obviously bring down the cost of home ownership and purchasing homes for the American people. And then also, as I mentioned as well, we do see mortgage rates falling. So all of this is combining to make housing more affordable in this country. There's still a lot more to do. The president is still digging his way out of the mess that was created by Joe Biden's administration in jacking up mortgage rates and jacking up housing costs. But we do see very positive trends in this direction. And the president wants the United States to be a nation of owners, not renters. He wants families to live in homes, not institutions and big corporations. Michael.
Caroline, secondly on Ukraine,
Sure.
Yesterday Zelensky said in an interview that he says that it's not fair that the president is saying that Ukraine has to make concessions. He's saying this publicly, and not Russia. Has the president seen these comments? And when the president says that Ukraine has to make concessions, is he referring to giving up Donbass?
I think the president would respond to that by saying he does not think it's fair that thousands of Ukrainians are losing their lives, and Russians too, in this deadly war. And that's why the president and his team have committed a tremendous amount of time and energy in bringing this war that is very far away from the United States of America, but nevertheless, this is a president of peace. And so he's committed a tremendous amount of time and energy to bringing this war to an end. Just yesterday, there was another round of trilateral talks between the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine. There was meaningful progress made in both parties. Both sides agreed to update their respective leaders and to continue to work towards a peace deal together. So there will be another round of talks in the future. But I think the president views this entire situation as very unfair, not just for Russians and Ukrainians who have lost their lives, but also for the American people and the American taxpayer who were footing the bill for this war effort before President Trump put a stop to it. And I would just remind everyone around the world that the United States is still selling weapons to NATO.
Okay, we have come out of that White House press briefing, despite it not being over just yet, to bring you an update on the breaking news with which we started our show. If you remember, right off the top of the show, we had Madison Schlegel live from Portsmouth, right around City Hall, after a suspect had barricaded themselves in Portsmouth after firing at federal and state officers, according to police. Madison gave us the update on that to start the show. We've just had another update come into our newsroom, and that is that a man has been officially detained. That's right. A man has been officially detained during that from that barricade situation in Portsmouth. City Hall will be closed for the rest of the day. Now, when it comes to the detainment, it was a peaceful surrender. The man's partner was also in the apartment. She was brought out and searched and taken away in an ambulance. More information supposed to come from Virginia State Police, but for now, that is your update. So the most important headline there, a man has been officially detained in a peaceful surrender at the barricade situation in Portsmouth near City Hall, and City Hall will be closed for the rest of the day. So an update to some breaking news that we had earlier on in this show. Now, what I would like to do is touch on something that was included in that White House press briefing that actually hits close to home, and that is the Potomac River sewage spill. Now, at one point, Caroline Leavitt was saying that Democratic leaders just needed to ask if they wanted federal help with that sewage spill. One of the reporters in the audience kind of indicated that Wes Moore had just asked. I don't know how recently he got that information, but that reporter said Wes Moore had indeed recently asked, but he did so in the form of saying that something to the effect of the president can go ahead and do his job, or should go ahead and do his job. So all of that happening in the moment at that White House press briefing. Some of that may have been paraphrasing, but you get the gist of what happened during that exchange. Now, let's give an update on maybe what exactly we're talking about here. Obviously, you've likely heard of the sewage spill that has happened in the Potomac River that has led to an absolutely massive spill in that river, and many parts of that river being now considered tainted in some way. President Donald Trump on Monday lashed out at Maryland Governor Wes Moore over what he called a lagging response to a January pipe rupture that resulted in that sewage spill into the Potomac River just northwest of D.C. Now, it is the Potomac Interceptor that we're talking about. It's a 1960s era pipe. That's the one that broke. It's a part of DC Water, a utility based in Washington that's federally regulated and under the oversight of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. But Trump lashing out at Maryland Governor Wes Moore over his lagging response. This is based on PBS.org reporting here. They have a very digestible summary of this situation. I'm basing some of this reporting off of their reporting, by the way. It was on social media. President Donald Trump said he cannot allow incompetent local leadership to turn the Potomac into a disaster zone. He also said he'd ordered federal authorities to step in and coordinate the response, calling this a massive ecological disaster unfolding in the Potomac River as a result of the gross mismanagement of local Democrat leaders, particularly Governor Wes Moore of Maryland. Now, a spokesperson for Moore said that EPA officials did not participate in a recent legislative hearing about the cleanup, and said the Trump administration has been broadly, quote, shirking its responsibility on the repair and cleanup of what University of Maryland researchers say is one of the largest sewage spills in U.S. history. Another quote from the spokesperson for Governor Moore: the president has his facts wrong again. Apparently, the Trump administration hasn't gotten the memo that they're actually supposed to be in charge here. DC Water CEO and General Manager David Gaddis said in a statement on Monday, "We have been coordinating with the U.S. EPA since the Potomac Interceptor collapsed." So that is an update on sort of different responses coming from federal and state leaders in regards to, again, what is now considered one of the largest spills that we've had here in the United States, one of the largest sewage spills that we have had here in the U.S. So a little bit more context toward that exchange that we saw happen in that White House press briefing. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take a brief commercial break. We do have a special guest preparing to be on the show in just a few minutes here. We're going to take a break. When we come back, hopefully we'll have our guest. If not, we'll go back to that ongoing White House press briefing. Before any of that, a commercial.
Oh, 1, 2, 3.
All right, welcome back to Live Impact News right here on 13 News Now Plus. 2:01 p.m. We have about an hour left in the show here. We've already covered quite a few topics, but now we move to a sort of a new portion of our stream today because we have a special guest joining us here on air, Dr. Christine Crawford. Dr. Crawford, it seems like you have a lot of different titles. You have your hand in a lot of different things. Child and adolescent psychiatrist is what I've gotten written down here. I know you're also the associate medical director for the National Alliance of Mental Illness, among a variety of other things. So thanks for taking some time away from what I'd imagine is a very busy schedule to join us here today. How is everything with you on this Wednesday?
Very, very good. And also, thanks for having me to discuss such an important topic.
Yeah, no problem. And it's something that, it's in the news a little bit extra right now, but it has become a focal point of sort of societal attention, especially for parents over the last decade plus here as social media has become sort of an indelible part of our culture. Its impacts really starting to be seen in kids who were born into a world with social media. So I guess we'll start there is what do we know so far about how social media in particular affects adolescent developing brains?
Yeah. So the thing about brains during that stage of development, during 10 to 15 years old or 10 to 18 years old, the way in which their brain is developing is more focused on developing the emotional centers, developing the reward centers, and the front part of the brain, which helps with judgment, impulse control, making rational decisions, it isn't as fully formed and developed. And so with social media, what it does, it actually makes it such that it is targeting rewards, it's targeting kind of an emotional response to what it is that you're seeing on social media. So comparing yourself to other people who are presenting a curated lifestyle can make you feel really upset. Also seeing that there are certain notifications, certain pings that come up, helps with the reward system and kind of, reinforces this need to continuously be on social media. So the bottom line is the way that social media is designed is making it sticky for a teenager or adolescent brain.
And when we consider sort of that ramification, the developing brain, the specific aspects of that developing brain and how social media can target those things, what is the result in terms of the psychological, emotional health of those kids?
Yeah, so a couple of things. Number one, it can increase the rate of depression and anxiety. There's this sense of having a fear of missing out because of what it is that your peers are posting, the pictures that they're posting. So there's always this sense of, why wasn't I a part of that? And during this stage of development, peer relationships, friendships are super important, more important than your relationship with your parents. In addition to that, social media, the way in which it's designed, is based off an algorithm. And so if you already have ongoing worries or concerns, or you search a particular topic, say, for example, eating disorder, the algorithm is going to pick up on that, and it can actually amplify or exacerbate some of the underlying anxieties or worries or fears that kids have, because all you're going to do is just see videos that are relating to that particular content. So it can exacerbate some mental health related symptoms. And then in addition to that, it's the problem is that it really helps foster connections, and people feel as though they're a part of a community, because perhaps if they're part of a marginalized community, they may not be around those individuals who are nearby, but use social media as a way to connect. But oftentimes, that type of connection isn't really a deep connection. It could be quite superficial in nature. And so there are some downsides as it relates to social media, but it's a powerful tool when leveraged appropriately.
Absolutely. Right. And that's something that I do want to get into is the good and the bad sides of this particular tool. And it's so interesting that you mentioned that the algorithm almost by definition will create that feedback loop of any of those underlying issues that it itself sort of spurred on or directly led to. I wonder if you're a parent and your child is on social media and you know that it's just going to be a part of their lives, even if you can try to regulate that, what are some signs that parents should be looking for to know that maybe that usage has crossed the line of being problematic?
Yeah, I think it's really important for parents to know that social media is not going away. A lot of folks think that we should just tell kids, get off of your phones, delete the apps. But it's like telling an adult to stop using Google. It just wouldn't make any sense. So it's really important for parents to educate themselves about social media and to develop a better understanding as to how your kid is using it. So what that could actually look like is you installing the apps on your phone so that you can increase your digital literacy, you can increase your understanding as to how these apps work, a better understanding of the algorithm. And then you sit down next to your child because oftentimes a fun activity that a lot of kids nowadays are engaging in, they sit on the couch and they're scrolling through whatever social media platform that they prefer. So I tell parents, sit next to your kid because just spending 2 minutes, 3 minutes next to your kid can give you a better understanding as to the inner world of your kid because you'll see certain videos that are popping up and you're noticing a pattern in the types of videos. And so that provides an opportunity for the parent to be curious as to why it is you're seeing certain videos coming up. And you can explore that with your child and mention, oh, I noticed that there's a lot of videos that are popping up talking about anxiety. I wonder, what are your thoughts behind that? And so it could be a really great opportunity to foster connection with your kid, to understand what your kid is going to, but also to provide some information to counteract all of the misinformation that is on social media platforms when it comes to mental health.
Yeah, that is so critical. Anytime we talk about issues that relate back to adolescence, it's always time from the parents, time and presence with the kids is always helpful. And you kind of reiterated that there. I'm wondering if you are a parent who finds yourself in a situation, unfortunate as it may be, where you are not home during some of those critical times, whether it's due to work or family situation, if you're not able to be there as much as you would like, at least for certain time periods, are there electronic regulations that work? Is there a time period that works when you say, okay, just an hour, just 30 minutes, any suggestions when it comes to parents who are just simply not able to be present for those discussions and that actual in-person monitoring?
Yeah, I think family engagement when it comes to social media use, it's so important. It's not about ongoing monitoring and surveillance. It's really about education and how it is you use social media, how it is you talk about social media, and how it is helpful. And so, what that could look like is as a family, you can come up with certain rules together. You could say things like, okay, at dinner time, we're going to put our phones away. At nighttime, we're going to make sure that there are no phones because we know that a lot of kids are on their phones at night and it disrupts their sleep. And then also parents need to model some of that behavior too and try to put their phone down, so not be as involved with their phones as often. But also to have conversations about what are some of the things that are on your kid's mind. You know, they could share with you that they are anxious. They can share with you that they're concerned about some of the news that they're seeing that's popping up on their feed. So it could be a great opportunity for you to connect with your kid to understand what it is that they are seeing on their devices. But again, it's not on parents, on their shoulders to constantly monitor and surveillance what it is their kids are doing, because that's impossible. It really is impossible to do so because kids are just attached to their phones and we're not always in close proximity to them. So having certain rules within the household about when you're going to use the phone, when you're not going to use the phone, and also to have conversations in person in real time about what it is your kid is going through so that they can come to you to get information about how to navigate stressful situations, how to support their mental health, rather than going to a social media platform and Susie Q, who's 12, talking about how to manage anxiety. No, we want our kids to come to us first for that type of information.
Right, it's no shade to Susie Q, but it just means
No
more
shade.
coming from the parents. And I'm so glad that you emphasized not just how important the engagement in the conversation is, but mimicking those behaviors yourself and showing your children, because that it holds true for parents as well. I find myself on my phone far too often. I know that it's not just kids that are maybe experiencing some of these sort of addiction-related consequences of being on the phone, which kind of brings me to my next question of, is there an age where that responsibility shifts and maybe people can start to experience a little bit more autonomy? If you have a kid, is it 18? Is it 21? Does it depend on each particular child? What's your advice in terms of sort of turning that power over to the kids and trusting what you've instilled in them?
Yeah, so this is a big question for a lot of parents. And a lot of parents don't know what to do because there aren't clear guidelines around this in terms of an exact age in which you should allow your kid to be able to use social media, because all kids are different in terms of their level of emotional maturity, in terms of the amount of digital literacy that they have. But to be concrete about this, when we're thinking about the developing brain, between the ages of 10 to 13 is a really sensitive time for the developing brain. It's a really critical time for the developing brain because, again, the emotional centers are really starting to form strong connections. We also are noticing that kids are shifting their attention from being all about their parents to being all about their friends. And also, it's a time in which they are kind of incentivized to do things that give them a lot of pleasure, that give them a sense of reward. So that is their priority, is to engage in activities that makes them feel great, that feels as though it's providing them a release of dopamine, so there's a sense of reward. But also, it's a time in which connecting with their peers is so important. So having an opportunity to be able to delay use as long as you can so that you have an opportunity to educate your child on how to navigate social media. It gives you time to provide education on how to detect misinformation online. It gives you an opportunity to provide your kid with tools on how to disengage with these algorithms that are on these platforms, because again, there are things about the design of these platforms that really fosters engagement, and literally they're designed to keep people on for as long as possible. So to come up with ways in which a kid can be able to remove themselves, to disengage, but also how to regulate themselves as well, so they're not so fixated on, okay, how many likes did I get on this post, and then have a lot of disappointment or a lot of anxiety around, okay, what sort of comments is someone going to post about this particular video. So I think delaying as long as possible is helpful, but there's no clear age, but just understanding kind of what child development in the brain looks like at critical stages can be really helpful in informing our decision around when's a good time.
And in that answer, you mentioned that reward system, and you're kind of even a little bit ahead of my next question, the design of the applications itself to keep kids on the apps. Now, I have a feeling that scrolling mechanism is one of those design aspects that is specifically for that purpose. Take it anywhere you want. How does that sort of endless scrolling, that doom scrolling sort of hot button feature that we hear a lot about in these discussions, what kind of impact does that have on kids in particular?
Yeah, so the design is really the big area of concern for a lot of parents because kids are really stuck to, remaining engaged with these platforms and it's hard for them to remove themselves. And so with these features on the platforms, you're able to continuously scroll through videos nonstop. And so a kid could go through a ton of videos in a very short amount of time, exposing themselves to a lot of content that's not necessarily always developmentally appropriate because they're also exposed to adult content as well. And so not only is there a concern about kids just scrolling, the algorithm gets smarter, it is targeting certain aspects of what it is the kid is searching, how long they remain on a particular video. So you can have a situation in which a kid is seeing videos about one subject continuously. The other thing about it too is that I mentioned that everybody's on social media, and so there is content on these platforms that's geared towards adults. It's not just there's a teen environment and there's a adult environment, and so you're increasing the likelihood that your child might be exposed to subject material that might not be appropriate for them. The other thing is that kids are spending a lot of time on social media. There are a lot of platforms that don't have any notification around how long someone has remained engaged in the app. So having certain having the design, notifying the user, hey, you've been using it for this amount of time, or you can put in how long you want your kid to be on the platform and then it shuts down after a certain period of time can be really helpful because it's hard for a lot of kids to disengage because they don't yet have all the tools to be able to say, okay, I'm going to walk away from this. I'm not going to think a lot about what's happening in terms of people responding to my video, responding to my content. And so really limiting time around it, the doom scrolling, the continuous scrolling is really concerning, but also the fact that young people are exposed to content that parents may not want their kids to be exposed to at such a young age.
And we've talked so much about how parents can put guardrails in place in order to try and sort of curtail these effects, how parents can engage with their kids to ensure that they're using these tools safely. But if the powers that be were to come to you and say, hey, Dr. Crawford, we saw your interview on Live Impact News. It seems like you have a wonderful amount of knowledge about these applications. We want you to determine a few regulations to be put in place for some of these actual tech giants, some of these social media platforms. What would be some of the critical regulations that you would put in place to ensure kids' safety when using these apps?
Yeah, and I'm happy that you mentioned about kids' safety because that's really what's driving all of this. Some of the safeguards that I would want to see that's built into the design really have child brain development in mind because right now a lot of these companies put in a ton of money in designing these algorithms that are built to keep people engaged, and that engagement can increase the potential for mental health conditions or mental health conditions that a kid has to get worse. And so I do think that limiting the amount of time that a kid is able to remain engaged on a platform, that could be built into the design. The doom scrolling, that can also be built into the design in which you can put in how many videos you can scroll through, and once you reach that, it just stops. But also it could be designed such that we're creating a safe environment for our kids in terms of the type of content that they're exposed to. And then lastly, and a lot of countries are looking into this, and Australia has already done this, is thinking about delaying the age in which kids can access these platforms. So having it designed such that there are age verifications, age checks that are built into these platforms. Now, the thing is, a lot of folks say, well, having a delayed age or having a certain age to access the app, like, what's the point of that? That doesn't make a lot of sense. But the reality is there are already certain activities that are age restricted, and social media is just another one that a lot of people are considering. We have age restrictions around when kids can drive, and that is based on child brain development. Around the age of 16, kids have a little bit a better sense around impulse control. Their judgment is a little bit better. And so we decided age 16, there's a policy that age 16 you can drive. And there's also a build-up process to be able to get your license. Certain states have that you need to get your permit, you have to pass a driver's test. So there's all this built-in education to ensure that when the kid hits 16, that they are ready to be safe on the road. Also when it comes to gambling, also when it comes to drinking. So there are already public health measures that have age restrictions attached to that. And I think there's a conversation around, should the same be viewed when it comes to thinking about social media and the harms and the risks that are associated with social media, wondering, is this a public health issue? Should we put these safeguards in place because it increases the risk for mental health concerns in our kids? So all of those things, I think, would be important to take into consideration.
Do you feel personally hopeful about the future of social media and adolescence?
Absolutely, I do. I think that it is an amazing tool that could also help foster curiosity. It can help foster connections, because when kids have a question, when they're curious about something, they search about it. Perhaps they can learn a little bit about it. But when I'm hoping that we can then take that curiosity, to take a little bit of that information that they gain from social media, to then convert it into the kid now having language to discuss some of this with an adult, a trusted adult in their life. So I see it as a nice jumping off point for human connection, for adults to be able to provide kids with tools and strategies, but also for you to provide helpful information to that kid and to understand what it is that this kid is going through. And I also think the fact that, kids are curious about mental health, and we see it in some of the searches that come up. And I think it's great that this generation wants to learn more about how they can take care of their mental health. So I do find all of this to be encouraging, but I do think that we need to be considerate of how it is we are educating our kids about social media use, about how to detect misinformation, about how to regulate themselves such that they're able to disengage from social media. Because it doesn't matter, because at some point in time, kids are going to be able to become adults, and they're going to use social media all the time. So it's really about ensuring that the kids have the tools that they need rather than just denying access.
Absolutely. I love the optimism. It's great to kind of hear that positivity. My last question for you, would you be in favor of a full-scale ban on the term 6-7? Are you willing to eradicate that from the literature that we have now? Is that regulation okay?
As long as we can say 8, 9, then I'm
there
cool.
it is. You got a big laugh from the People's producer, Nia Campbell, for that one. Dr. Crawford, we cannot thank you enough for joining us here. That was so enlightening. We really appreciate it. We'd love to have you on again, because we know that this is not a topic that's going to go away anytime soon. But we'll let you go for now. We appreciate you coming on with us. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. That's Dr. Christine Crawford, once again, with just a ton of information on how we can make this social media world work in the best way possible for kids and kids' safety. A lot of great stuff there in that interview. We really appreciate her taking the time. And it's especially notable today? Because we know that starting this week, a trial in Los Angeles alleging that major social media platforms were intentionally designed to be addictive for children and teens. That trial is ongoing. It began last Monday, and now today, Mark Zuckerberg took the stand. Now, he of course, has testified before Congress regarding these issues, but he has never taken the stand in a trial in front of a jury. So Mark Zuckerberg on the stand today as Meta, Mark Zuckerberg's company, and YouTube both centered in this case from these claims. This lawsuit was brought by a 20-year-old who's been identified as Kaylee and her mother. And this could potentially set the precedent for how tech companies are held liable when it comes to these issues that we're talking about. So that trial is ongoing. Any updates that come out of that trial will certainly bring your way. We mentioned Meta and YouTube. Snapchat and TikTok were also a part of this particular lawsuit, but they actually settled with the plaintiff last month. So they are not a part of this trial that is ongoing. So again, great information there from Dr. Crawford, and very, very relevant to what is in the news right now as we speak. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to toss to a very quick break. When we get back, we're going to have what appears to be a live update on an avalanche that happened in the Sierra Nevada mountains not too long ago. Some skiers still missing as of our last update. We'll get to that right after this commercial. All right, welcome back to Live Impact News. 2:28 p.m. We got about a quarter of the show left to go here, and there has not been a down second here during Live Impact News today. A wonderful interview from Dr. Christine Crawford. Breaking news that we have had updates coming into the station on out in Portsmouth as we go. And now we move to another piece of breaking news from this morning, which is an avalanche in California's Sierra Nevada mountains. Now, when we looked in on the latest news this morning, here was the update that we got this morning. I last checked this around maybe 11 o'clock a.m. And as of that time, 6 skiers had been rescued and 9 were still missing from a group of 15 that got caught in this avalanche in the Sierra Nevada mountains. Now, we also had 2 of the 6 that were rescued transported to a hospital for treatment, and the conditions extremely dangerous for the rescuers themselves. But a team went out there and has been able to rescue 6 skiers. We have an update happening right now. Now, this area northwest of Lake Tahoe out in California, Certainly a popular area for trips and ski vacations. And this press conference is ongoing, but we were recording on it during that interview. I think we're going to play it right from the beginning, just in case they give updates right off the top of this press conference. So though it's live, what we're going to show you is that press conference right from the beginning. So let's go out to California now and listen in to law enforcement authorities.
So much, and thank you for being here today. This has been one of the, clearly with the weather event, but one of the major cases that my agency has been a part of in the last several years. Again, my name is Shannon Moon, SHANNANMOON, and I am the Sheriff of Nevada County. It's important to know this is an ongoing incident, and some facts do change. So this is the information that we have at the time. A clear example of that is just as we were going through our investigation last night, knowing some of the numbers have changed on who we've been looking for. So at 11:30 yesterday on February 17th, our dispatch center, we have a regional dispatch center here in Nevada County, received a 911 call reporting of the avalanche in the Castle Peak area of Nevada County. Castle Peak is north of Interstate 80, right there at the Donner Summit, heading into Truckee. It's a very remote, rugged area on the north side of the highway there. It is not a groomed area or a ski resort area. This is a backcountry area, rugged terrain, where we have a lot of recreationists in the summer hiking, and in the winter, clearly the over snow skiing and such. It's very close to the Pacific Crest Trail, and it is in the Tahoe National Forest. It was initially reported that 16 individuals were on a guided trip by Blackbird Mountain Guides out of Truckee. There were 4 guides and initially reported as 12 guests. This information was later updated after we got on scene. We were working with Blackbird Mountain Guides the entire time. They provided us with their manifest for their trip. Initially, that trip had 12 clients signed up for that trip. Once we got on scene, we were told and confirmed that only 11 went on that trip. One person, last minute, decided to back out of that trip. So this was a part of a three-day trip from Blackbird Mountain Guides to the Frog Lake Huts, which is right in that area of Castle Peak. They have been, and yesterday was their 3rd day that they were returning, coming out of the backcountry, coming back to the trailhead when the avalanche occurred. The Sheriff's Office, along with Truckee Fire, immediately started coordinating a response to get into the area, and we requested mutual aid from both our friends to the east, the Placer County Sheriff's Office, and the Tahoe Nordic Search and Rescue Team. We also requested assistance from our friends farther to the east in the state of Nevada, the Washoe County Sheriff's Office and the Washoe County Search and Rescue Team. That was all coordinated through our mutual aid system in California, which is the California Office of Emergency Services. Highly skilled rescue teams departed yesterday from both our Boreal Mountain Ski Resort, which is on the south side of the highway right there at the trailhead, and at the Tahoe Donner Alder Creek Adventure Center, which is in Tahoe Donner. So we had 2 different teams deploying, roughly 50 skilled folks deploying into the scene, both from the south side and from the north side, trying to come in to this area. Extreme weather conditions, I would say, is an understatement. Lots of snow, gale force winds, making it impossible to see. So it was very much a slow and steady pace, going with snowcats, skiers, going up into the area, which is still considered a very high danger for avalanche. So our tracked mobile equipment, getting them to the scene on Highway 80, which was closed, lots of snow on the roadway. Took us a while to get our equipment into the location before we could deploy into the backcountry. And then once we decided to put the teams out there, again, with lots of safety plans, I can't stress that enough, making sure that our responders and our volunteers and our staff were safe in getting to the location, knowing that we had 6 survivors based on the information that we were getting on communication through the iPhone SOS, and that we could have conversations with them. Once we arrived at the location, it was just after 5:30 p.m. last night when we had a snowcat that was able to get to about 2 miles before they got to the scene. And so from the 2 miles in, they skied in because, again, the tracked machinery and the potential for another avalanche. So they skied in from there. They were able to locate the 6 survivors. They were sheltered. They had some equipment with them trying to not only stay warm, but they had medical issues as well. They had themselves already started, looking for their teammates and their clients that were missing in the avalanche. They were able to locate 3 decedents at the time when they were waiting for us to get there to help rescue them. Once at 5:30, once our team got there, again, extreme conditions. The 2 of the 6 were not mobile. They could not walk because of the injuries they sustained during the avalanche. And we were able to safely get them the 2 miles from that location to the snowcat. And 4 others were able to get to the snowcat themselves. So all 6 were rescued off of the mountain. The information I have at the time at this time is that of the 6, 1 was a Blackbird Mountain guide, and 5 survivors were clients on that tour. Of the folks that are missing, so again, a total of 11, right? 9 women and 6 men total. Of the 15 that were on this guided trip, they were 9 women and 6 men. We were able to rescue 1 man and 5 women. So the survivors, ranging in ages from 30 to 55 years of age. 8 of the 9 additional skiers have been located deceased. We are still looking for 1 of the members at this time. Due to the ongoing challenges of the weather, the avalanche conditions, the effort remains ongoing, as well as our search for the remaining skier. But the weather is a factor. It's not a resource issue as we speak. It is a weather condition and safety condition for our response teams. Of the 2 that were injured, 1 individual was stabilized last night and released. 1 is still being treated at the hospital. I've been told both subjects are non-life-threatening injuries, so that's good to know. The guide company has been very cooperative, providing us the individual information from their trip. They also had members arrive at our location when we deployed into the field, and they responded with us. They wanted to do everything that they could to assist. The cause of death clearly will not be able to be confirmed. One, we still have to get to the decedents. We still have to be able to identify those decedents. And then we will determine through contract with Placer County, we contract with them for all of our pathology. That should take some time to determine mechanism of injury and truly the cause of death for these individuals. The avalanche yesterday was about 1 mile away from a different avalanche that occurred at the beginning of January in that same Castle Peak area. Please understand that this incident remains ongoing. Our focus remains on recovering, but the snow and the unsure conditions are creating an issue to making sure that we can safely do that. We did have a conversation with the families of the folks that are still outstanding and let them know that our mission went from a rescue to a recovery. It's a difficult conversation to have with loved ones, so I please ask for your patience with the family members. This is ongoing, and I can't even imagine the amount of questions and stress that those families are going through right now as we move forward through this. Public safety reminders. Check avalanche forecasts and weather reports before traveling anywhere in the backcountry. Locally, the Sierra Avalanche Center is a great resource. Avoid closed areas, posted areas, avoid all of those high-risk areas. Always communicate your plans. Travel with a partner, share your route, and consider all of the avalanche training dangers that are in our beautiful community, but definitely a high danger for that. So with that, I'll ask the Placer County Sheriff Wayne Wu to come up and talk about that mutual aid that his agency reported and responded with us.
Thank you, Sheriff Moon. My name is Wayne Wu, W-O-O. I'm the current sheriff of Placer County. First of all, on behalf of myself and all the men and women of the Placer County Sheriff's Office, I want to offer my condolences to the family in this very trying time. The Placer County Sheriff's Office, the Washoe County Sheriff's Office, and the Nevada County Sheriff's Office has a very unique relationship with the challenges of providing services in the Lake Tahoe Basin. We work very closely together, and we value that relationship and provide mutual aid to each other. And I know Sheriff Moon would provide just as many resources to the constituents of Placer County if this emergency were to occur in our jurisdiction. So Sheriff Balaam with Washoe County couldn't make it over the summit. He tried to be here today, but I appreciate all of his efforts in this response as well. On the initial response, the Placer County Sheriff's Tahoe Nordic Search and Rescue Team responded with 2 snowcats and 28 members of our search and rescue team. I can't speak highly enough of the men and women that make up the Tahoe Nordic Search and Rescue Team. They are some of the highest rated, best, most well-trained, selfless servants that you'll find in the country right here in the Lake Tahoe Basin. These are true heroes that answer the call and selflessly serve and put themselves in harm's way when we call and there are other members of our community in need. This incident has specifically struck our organization and that team hard, as one of the 9 missing decedents is a spouse of one of our Tahoe Nordic Search and Rescue Team members. So as you can understand, this has not only been challenging for our community, it's been a challenging rescue, but it's also been challenging emotionally for our team and our organization. We are committed to being here until the end and making sure we make all these recoveries. As Sheriff Moon mentioned, the decedents will be transported to the Placer County morgue upon recovery and getting them off the mountain down at our Roseville facility. But in closing, I would like to add my request to members of the public during this time, and that is please avoid the Sierras during this current storm and in the upcoming days. Avoid mountain travel. It's treacherous. Avoid the backcountry. Please allow us to focus all of our resources on continuing to recover these bodies for the family and bring them home. Just yesterday, while we were responding to this incident, we got pulled off and had to pull resources for other rescues and overdue skiers. So please, over the next couple of days until this incident comes to a conclusion, please avoid the Sierras. And with that, I will introduce California Office of Emergency Services Chief Don O'Keefe. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. My name is Don O'Keefe, and it's spelled O''K EEFE. I'm the Chief of Law Enforcement for the Governor's Office of Emergency Services, also serve as a statewide law enforcement mutual aid coordinator. First of all, on behalf of Governor Newsom and Director Tina Curry, I just want to offer our condolences as well to the families. I do want to, before I talk a little bit about the outside mutual aid, I want to echo what Sheriff Wu was talking about, the incredible search and rescue people that do this on a daily basis. The vast majority of these individuals are volunteers. They a lot of time buy their own equipment, they train on their own time, and they put a big investment into it. So we really big shout out to our volunteers statewide. Yesterday around 11:30, the California State Warning Center received a a call from a private Beacon, one of the companies, that there was an emergency. We were able to track it to an area in remote Nevada County. We reached out to the Nevada County Sheriff's Office. They had already gotten word of this incident. My staff responded, and our job in this type of situation, like any mutual aid, is we're there to support the incident commander. Our job is to get the resources that incident commander needs to safely and successfully complete that mission. So during this time period, one of my personnel was communicating with one of the guides for over a 4-hour period, giving information back to the Nevada Sheriff's Office and, coordinating what rescues could be permitted. So we have a very, very robust, as the sheriff said, very robust mutual aid system in California. It usually starts surrounding counties, cities help themselves. Where we really come into it is when resources need to come from regional or statewide. And in this case, the request for specialized equipment. Now, you're talking about a winter situation where you have to have rescuers that, searchers, rescuers that have the right equipment. They can stay out overnight if needed be in this environment. So we reached out statewide as far away as Ventura and Los Angeles County for certain specific type of resources that the sheriff was needing. As she has mentioned, at this point is not a resource issue. The resource has been met. However, we here at Cal OES will still be assisting through the recovery process to get that whatever is needed to recover the decedents from where they're at right now. So with that, that's all I have right now. Thank you. I'll be around to answer questions later on. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chris Foutrier. Last name is spelled F as in Frank, E-U, T as in Tom, R-I-E-R. I'm the forest supervisor of the Tahoe National Forest. The Sierra Avalanche Center is hosted on the Truckee Ranger District of the Tahoe National Forest. I was able to speak with one of the professional forecasters there as they were on their way to the field to get some more field data for the regional forecasting job they have, which is over 5 forests and 2 state region. I too want to extend my condolences to the families who are dealing with lost family members, and a sincere thank you as well to the courageous search and rescue folks who responded quickly and under dangerous conditions. I'd point you to the Sierra Avalanche Center's website for the best information on this avalanche. What we do understand is that it was about a football field in length. It resulted when a persistent weak layer had a large load of snow over the top of it. That persistent weak layer is still there and has reloaded with another 3 feet of snow, so the hazard remains high. And happy to answer any further questions that I can. Thank you.
So with that, we'll open up public questions on a first come basis. I see your hand there. Before though, with that, if we could keep in mind again the decedents, please. We won't be sharing any information on the decedents out of respect for the family.
Can you talk about the conditions, and I can open it up to whoever wants to take this one. I know our meteorologists knew at least a week in advance that this storm was going to be a severe one. I'm sure you all knew, had your resources mobilized. I'm sure that everyone from Caltrans to CHP had realized that this was going to be a major storm system. In situations like this, is there a cautionary message that you would like to convey to the community, knowing that a storm like this was coming in and that the avalanche danger was going to be high? Going forward, how can we prevent disasters like this from happening?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, lots of forecast on this storm. Those are the decisions that the guide company clearly had made. We're still in conversation with them on the decision factors that they made, but definitely a heed for everyone. You know, the backcountry it's beautiful. There's not a lot of people out there, and that's where a lot of people like to recreate. I myself like to recreate in that area. But Mother Nature does not seem it doesn't seem to matter, right? No matter how prepared you are, no matter how experienced you are. And again, heeding the warnings of it takes all resources from multiple different agencies to respond to emergencies. And when we have multiple emergencies going on, we too had a different search and rescue mission in the north section of our county, just because of the amount of snow that was coming down. So recognizing it's not just you, that you're impacting the potential for resources getting deployed somewhere else. And yeah, trying to put that information out as much as we can. We have great partnership with all of the media and listening to your guys' newscasts, listening to our local newscasts on the prediction of that weather, I think is important. And most people do heed that. In this particular instance, it was day 3, they were on their way out, and they came across this avalanche. So appreciate the question.
Sheriff, I understand the need for privacy for the families, of course, of the victims, but there are so many people across the state, and for the country for that matter, who really care or give you their condolences. My question is, can you give us even just whether they are from California or perhaps their hometown? I'm not asking for anything more, but anything with their hometown and their state perhaps?
Yeah, multiple different states, definitely. And again, we did have a conference call with all members this morning, and we assured them that we would not be putting names out. They're still reeling, quite considerable, and I could not imagine what they're going through. So as soon as we can get that information out, we will. And the first people that are going to hear this information clearly is the families that are affected. Again, this affects not only our communities but other communities. We understand that. And we appreciate the media's assistance with us in getting that message out.
Sure. Just a follow-up on her original question. I know that you said you're speaking with the guide company about their decision-making process. There were significant warnings about this storm, forecasts of it, highway shut down, other ski resorts were closed. Would these guides have known they were potentially leading this group into a deadly situation?
Well, I would say the communication lines, clearly we were able to communicate with them during the avalanche. What kind of communication lines they had as they were out on their 3-day tour trip, I can't speak to that. Those are all questions that we're asking, and appreciate the patience while we get through this and investigate the totality. Not just so that we know, but so these families know. I think that's the core piece of my mind is wanting to be able to provide answers to the families that were affected, the guide members that were present, and the clients that paid for this trip. Thank you.
Is the main question whether they should have gone on the 3-day trip in the first place, or is the main question should they have stayed in the Frog Lake cabin on that 3rd night to avoid these bad conditions?
I don't think either of them could be considered main. They're both great questions. Yeah.
Sheriff, can you give us some more information on the rescue itself? How far away from the group that were found compared to those who now deceased? And were they carried far down the mountain?
I'm going to refer to my operations captain, who was the incident commander for the duration of that first operational period, Captain Rusty Green.
All right, back here in Live Impact, as you heard an update there of a tragic, devastating situation in Sierra Nevada mountains as they continue to try to recover from that avalanche, and obviously thoughts with any friends, families, community who have been impacted by that as they still try to figure out the next course of action. Now, we are actually going to end the show. We got about 5 minutes left in the show. We're going to spend a little bit more time with the Colin Gray trial as we see a witness giving testimony right now. A little bit more time with that, then we'll end the show. But first, let's go back out to Georgia.
Do you want just the magazine or also the coin envelope as the cartridge?
We won't take the cartridges out of the coin envelope, but you can show that to the jury just so they're aware of what that is. And can you explain what's inside that envelope?
Yeah, so when we are collecting evidence, we try to put everything in paper, and when we're collecting cartridges and cartridge cases and fragments and bullets, we tend to put them in coin envelopes. So the cartridge from this magazine is in this envelope.
Okay. Same thing as 124. Sorry.
President, I know you all had a longer break than you anticipated previously, but you've been in here since 1, and I need to get short. So we're going to take a 10 or so minute break.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, as you see, court going to recess there in Georgia. They are in the midst of that case that is one of enormous national attention, in part because it could potentially set new parameters for the consequences that come with mass shootings, as this particular case is involving the father of the alleged shooter rather than the alleged shooter themselves in this particular case that we have been watching. All right, let's one more time before we get out of here. We started the show with that breaking news out of Portsmouth about a barricade situation near City Hall, about an individual with a firearm who had fired shots at, let me make sure I have my language right here, both federal and state officers. And we got an update not long ago, around 2:15, that, let's see, it looks like we had another brief update here. So we mentioned that City Hall is closed for the rest of the day. We got some clarification from police that the building is closed as far as the entrance facing Crawford Street. Otherwise, normal operations continued throughout the day. That update actually just came in here recently. I wanted to make sure I got that in there. In terms of an update about the incident itself, the man has been officially detained via peaceful surrender. The man's partner was also in the apartment in which he was barricaded. She was brought out, searched, and taken away in an ambulance. We anticipate more information from Virginia State Police, which will be, if there is any more information, it'll be communicated by Madison Schlegel at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and 6 o'clock on 13 News Now on our linear broadcast station. In terms of our digital platform, right here, Live Impact News, 13 News Now Plus, our time here on this Wednesday is entirely finished. So for Nia Campbell, I've been Connor Real. Won't you please join us again tomorrow on Thursday for more Live Impact News.